The problem is that not everything you hear or see is true. Some of it is misinformation. Opinions, half-truths, conspiracy theories, and even outright lies dressed up as facts. Misinformation isn't just inaccurate. It can also be dangerous.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to hell.
Yes. By the time we get done with this article, Watchtower's going to wish they really were in hell.
They belong there, let me tell you.
Yeah. As you guys can tell, this is our first attempt at a green screen, so we make no promises from this point onward. So what are we going to deal with, dear?
Yes, but as you can see, we have the Old Awake Bond volume, and this is the 1959 one. And we're going to be covering the January 8th article on page 5, Masters of Deception. And I don't remember where I got this article. It's been on his little table for quite a while. I can't remember if I found it looking for something else or if somebody sent it to us or Atlantis sent it to us. So, sorry, it's been a while.
So, sit back, get some popcorn, get some tea, because we're going to read the whole entire article. And you're going to just see how easy it is to reverse this narrative and put it all at the feet of Watchtower. But by extension, it applies also to Christendom. Because in this particular article, Watchtower literally points the finger at Christendom and their mastery of deception. But Watchtower does the same thing. So,
Yeah.
I guess I will start. In 1856, a South African native by the name of Umlanji convinced a number of tribes that if they would slaughter all their cattle, destroy their corn, and refrain from planting more crops, their ancestors would rise up and drive the English into the sea. He also claimed that his visions revealed droves of cattle that belonged to their ancestors coming over the hills to them. Each man would have as many as he wanted, provided that he had the space. Besides that, the corn pits would be miraculously filled. The tribes who believed this self-styled prophet were deceived and suffered greatly. I want to focus on that word self-styled prophet because remember, years ago, Kim and I even did a video punching holes through Watchtower's article that said, and they shall know that a prophet was among them, pointing to the organization and Jehovah's Witnesses. It's the same nonsense. Same nonsense. Empty promises. Want to read the next paragraph, Kim?
Yeah. This is almost like a Watchtower study or something.
Well, this is, this is an awake study.
Okay. It may be difficult for some people to understand how anyone could be so gullible as to fall victim to such obvious falsehood. Oh, don't get me started.
Oh, well, we all know where this is going to go.
Yeah. But they fail to realize that religious ignorance opens the door to easy deception. When a people are taught that their dead ancestors are still alive, should it seem ridiculous to them to say that their ancestors will deliver them and feed them? Well, about as believable as Jehovah will take care of you and his people.
Well, how is that any different than Jehovah provided sand out of a windstorm to build a kingdom hall? Yeah. How is it? How could you be so gullible? Religious ignorance is why.
Back to the paragraph. It may be that Umlanji was convinced that his visions were true. If so, he was the victim of even greater deceivers than he was.
Masters of deception. Do I need to say any more, or is this paragraph pretty self self-explanatory because you all have to remember the empty promise that the generation of 1914 will not pass away. And now it's overlapping generations. Gullible, religious ignorance. But unfortunately, it's not the governing body. It's the rank and file.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Okay, next paragraph I'll read. There have been many men who have had false visions and have preached them with ardent zeal.
Oh, it gets better. Wait for it.
I know. Some were the founders of great religious sects that have multitude of devotees today who cling tenaciously to their founders' falsehoods. You just can't read this with a sense of seriousness, can you?
Can't read it with a straight face because this just reeks of Watchtower and them doing an article about themselves again.
Yeah, they may be very sincere, but their sincerity does not make their beliefs the truth. It does not alter the fact that they are being deluded. So, the fact that Watchtower flopped on the whole 1914 process to now an overlapping generation, hey, as sincere as Splain, put that on a piece of cardboard, you're still being deluded! Hey, don't you guys like this scene from hell?
I will read the next one. In the ancient civilizations of Egypt and Babylon, the priestly class perpetrated the religious falsehoods that enslaved the people. They taught the people to worship lowly animals, birds, reptiles, and insects, as well as lifeless stone images. They even claimed that the king was an incarnate god.
There again, guys, think about Moses and that copper serpent. And Jesus said the same thing. Just as Moses lifted up the serpent, so the Son of Man will be lifted up, so that everybody looking at the serpent on the pole will be healed. It's all religious falsehoods, just as much as the whole concept of the overlapping generation. It's nonsense.
Well, even look at us, the screwed generation.
Yeah.
We were told from the platform and in the literature that we would not even finish school in this system.
Right.
We wouldn't grow old in this system. Guess what? That was a huge falsehood because now the 1975 screwed generation, we're facing Social Security age, retirement age now.
Yeah. But you know what I like about this paragraph? It's the very last sentence. They even claimed that the faithful and discreet slave class would become gods and they would be the guardian of doctrine. They're speaking about themselves now.
Well, they're even taking the place as mediators.
Exactly.
Because Jesus is not the rank and file's mediator. They are. They mediate for Jesus and Jehovah to the rank and file.
And the rank and file benefit from that delusional concept.
Do you see why this article is such a gem? Because it's entitled Masters of Deception. Who would have thought that Watchtower would have been printing about themselves?
Back in 1959.
Right?
I mean, it's so obvious and it's so easy. Okay? Next paragraph. Regarding the kings of Egypt, Sir James Fraser, in his book The Golden Bough, said, in the course of his existence, the king of Egypt exhausted all the possible conceptions of divinity which the Egyptians had framed for themselves. Now, pay attention, because this goes right to Jesus Christ. A superhuman God by his birth and by his royal office, he became the deified man after his death. Sound familiar, people? Thus, all that was known of the divine was summed up in him. Christians have done the same thing in the deification of Jesus. They've done the same thing. Jesus when on earth said, "The Father is greater than I." But after his death, Christianity makes a God out of that man. Okay, you want me to read the next paragraph?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, during the time of the Chinese Empire, so many persons made claims of being incarnate gods that the government deemed it advisable to keep a watch on them by requiring them to register with the colonial office at Peking. Some 160 signed for a license.
About like all these churches signing up for a 501c3.
501c3, people, same thing.
We're God's organization, so...
Yeah, you can't survive Armageddon if you don't come to God's organization and identify the faithful and discreet slave as who Jehovah chose. It's delusional. Going on. The folly of worshiping a man as a god should be evident. Yes, Jehovah's Witnesses, it should be evident, but it's not. Yet it is still done today in many parts of the earth. Certainly the person who worship men, animals, and lifeless images, metal, such as the copper serpent, my words, and plaster have become, as the Bible states, empty-headed in their reasonings. So, Watchtower, how are you not empty-headed in your reasonings when now that generation is gone? Now it's an overlapping generation when years ago you stated that taking blood fractions was against God's law, and now it's a conscious matter. The same thing with voting. How are those not empty-headed reasonings? They absolutely are. The only difference between Jehovah's Witnesses and myself, I got the guts to call it out for what it is. Empty-headed reasonings.
Yep. And if anybody thought that the previous paragraphs could be Watchtower, doesn't really sound like Watchtower. Oh yeah, Watchtowers. This is describing them to a T.
Wait for it.
The next subheading, the mastermind of false religion.
Now, just bear in mind, friends, 99% of the time when Kim does her videos on all these news articles and stuff like that, I see it for the first time. This article right now, Kim's reading it for the first time because that's why I asked her. I asked, "Did you want me to read it?" And you said, "Go on." What she was doing is she was reading ahead.
The mastermind of false religion. It is written in the Bible that the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one. That wicked one is the spirit prince of darkness who is identified in the Bible as Satan, the god of this system of things. From the very earliest of times, Satan has sought to corrupt man's worship by every conceivable means. He began his career of deception back in the Garden of Eden. Eve foolishly believed him to her own undoing. Since that day, he has continued to masquerade as one who enlightens and liberates. He inspired the formation of false religions with the aim of turning all mankind away from the undefiled worship of the Creator, Jehovah God. He chose earthly agents and gave them inspired expressions that deceived many people.
We've already debunked that in a previous video. Go back and read Genesis chapter 3. Satan did not lie. God went back to heaven and said, now that the man has become like one of us, let's drive him out of the garden so that he doesn't also eat from the tree of life. This is all on Jehovah God's shoulders, not the Satan. It's God that drove man out because God repeated, presumably, the satanic lie and then acted upon it. Read your Bibles. Use that little noodle and stop being deluded with a holy book.
Yeah. Next paragraph. The men who served as leaders in the devil-inspired religions became masters of deception like their invisible ruler. They employed every possible trick to delude people into believing their monstrous lies. You mean like apostate-driven lies and half-truths, and yet we're the one with the court documents and news reports?
How do you know that Jehovah's Witnesses are lying? Their lips are moving. They're literally incapable. I mean, here's another point. You get a Jehovah Witness to read this article, and they're going to call you the liar, or they're going to say, well, that was an article that was tampered by the apostates. They're even afraid to read their own literature.
Yeah. Well, I told Mike just this morning there is a new video that just came out on jw.org, and it's kind of a black and white drawing, but it's called Protect Yourself from Misinformation.
Yeah, exactly.
But yet they won't allow the rank and file to hear about all of these CSA cases. They keep telling them, oh, well, the media lies about us. But when it's in their favor, oh, look at the media is praising Jehovah's Witnesses for this.
Well, they have a word for that, and that word's used if you continue reading on.
As expert propagandists, they appeal to emotions, not to reason. They asserted their falsehoods over and over again, generation after generation.
And now it's overlapping. See, they've inserted their falsehoods not based on reason, but based on emotion, because, well, look, Jesus quite didn't appear within that generation, but I gotta stay emotionally attached. So here's all the governing bodies saying, now how do we do that? I got it. We'll make the generation overlapping, and they'll still be emotionally attached.
See, and look at this. Propaganda has been generated generation after generation. Like Mike mentioned, the 1914 generation. All of those people, all of those Bible students living at that time thought they would not die, that they would go right into the new system. Russell thought the same thing.
We won't be in this system long enough for you to use that education, so why don't you all quit your jobs, buy motorhomes, and become full-time preachers until the system ends, and now you're all begging for table scraps from the government for your Social Security because you don't have it, because you chose foolishness over logic. You chose emotion over sensibility.
Well, I like this last sentence in this paragraph. By repetition and fear, they induced whole nations to believe them. They've induced millions of Jehovah's Witnesses to believe them.
Using fear and propaganda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and repetition.
Yep, and repetition. You just repeat the lie long enough, and it becomes the truth. Until somebody like myself has the guts to stand up and say, wait a minute, Satan didn't lie. Satan told the truth, God repeated it, and then God acted on his own to drive humans out of the concept of eternal life. Okay, next paragraph. As centuries passed, their false religious teachings became so deeply ingrained in the people that no one dared to question them.
Yeah.
Oh, look at what Watchtower's done. You question Watchtower, you question the elders, and you're disfellowshipped. Fear, propaganda. Right there. The teachings have become sacred traditions. The person reared in them clung to them because his forefathers did. Thus, Satan's religious yoke became firmly fastened upon the necks of the majority of mankind, and his priestly agents bent every effort and art of deception to keep it there. That's exactly what Watchtower's done, even to the point of using little Caleb and Sophia cartoons and giving up your ice cream money and putting it in the contribution box. From the youth up, they're being deceived. this friggin' article applies 100% to Watchtower. Oh, Watchtower does have the ability to foretell the future. It's their future. That's why, guys, I've said it once and I'll say it right here. Go find the Awake magazines. They're just as powerful of a tool against Watchtower as those dumbass Watchtower articles that everybody keeps going to.
I will read the next one.
Please do.
Like their invisible father, these agents put on the appearance of being ministers of righteousness, servants of a great enlightener.
New light, new light, new light.
To impress the people, they cloak themselves with an atmosphere of mystery, often dressing in elaborate robes and putting on showy processions and impressive ceremonies. Or designer suits and...
pinky gold rings.
Yeah, all the bling and the fake photos of them going out in service or cleaning the baffle. Yeah, do you really think Anthony Morris washes dishes for real?
Do you want an answer, or is that a rhetorical question?
That's a rhetorical, and giving me an excuse to put his picture up to try my green screen.
To try the green screen.
Yeah. We're going to have so much fun with this now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, where was I? Oh, okay. It was all very impressive to the eye and to the emotions. You know, look at when these governing clowns get in front of the camera and tell them all these sad sob stories and just gets the emotions going. And
well, I can even remember Sister Householder one time going, "Oh, look, we have a governing body," and her eyes were just all star-filled.
That really was their last name.
Shh, shh. Nobody's supposed to know that.
I'll just read the next one. When Christ was on earth, he identified the religious leaders of his day as being of this group of deceivers. He called them, and rightly so, an offspring of vipers. Because Satan, the great serpent, was their father. They were his seed. Christ pointedly said to them, "You are from your father the devil, and you wish to do the desires of your father." He could see through their cloak of piety and knew them for what they were. If he was here on the earth, he would be doing the same thing to this organization. No?
No, we're doing the work for him.
True.
We are calling these vipers out. We're calling these manipulators of emotions out, and we're calling this organization that operates completely on fear. We're calling them out. They're propagandists. All right, I'm going to read the last paragraph before we get down to the next subheading. The Apostle Paul spoke about them in the mastermind of deception behind them. He said, "And no wonder, for Satan himself keeps transforming himself into an angel of light. It is therefore nothing great if his ministers keep writing articles claiming, 'New light, new light, new light.' They proclaim themselves as ministers of righteousness, but their end shall be according to their works." See,
what they're hiding in their organization.
Or exactly, the whole nonsense of flip-flopping doctrines. The generation shall not pass away until all these things, and now it's an overlapping generation. They keep transforming themselves into ministers of new light. Okay, the next subheading, Satan's seed still at work. And you want to read the next two paragraphs?
Okay. Because Christendom bears the name of Christ, it does not mean she is Christian. Her violent and bloody history bears that out. The Apostle Paul foretold that in later periods of time some will fall away from the faith, paying attention to misleading, inspired utterances and teachings of demons by the hypocrisy of men who speak lies. As the years passed after the death of the last apostle, the Christian organization became corrupted by men who heeded the inspired utterances of persons under demon influence. Many fell away from the pure Christian faith and began adopting the old pagan teachings, symbols, ceremonies, holy days, robes, and so forth that were popular in the world. Christendom had her beginning with these apostates who sought friendship with the political state. You mean like as NGOs with the OSCE and United Nations?
Absolutely. But I got one even better to throw in here once you get done reading.
Okay. The adopting of paganisms was an attempt at fusing Christian truth with the falsehoods Satan had inspired during the preceding centuries. This required a clever warping of Christian doctrine. Thus, Christendom became a deceptive instrument in the hands of the great deceiver.
Well, here's the big thing, Kim. Okay, I'm going to start over. As the years passed after the death of the last apostle, the Christian organization became corrupted by men who heeded the inspired utterances of persons under demon influence. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but did Watchtower do an article sometime back saying that the Bible was written or translated by apostate Christians, and you're still using that book today, Watchtower? So the very thing that you point the finger at Christendom and falling back to all of these pagan teachings, pagan holidays, you're still using a Bible that you yourself have stated publicly was translated by apostate Christians. Do you guys see how easy it is to debunk these knuckleheads?
Yeah. Now we can probably skip reading the entire next paragraph, but just the last sentence. They love to have influence with political leaders and to exercise authority over the people. That is Watchtower to a T. Look at, they're trying to have influence with these political leaders in, I don't know, Norway, Japan, the United States.
Yeah. Watchtower, how do you like your old light now becoming new light?
Yeah. They have shown no love for the Bible. While some of them have kept it away from the people under their control, others have ridiculed it, and still others have made it appear confusing and contradictory by their attempts to harmonize it with pagan doctrines. Or better yet, just make your own Bible and print up your own Bible. And contradictions.
Well, the Trinity doctrine comes to mind, but okay, go back right here. Others have ridiculed it. How is it that you didn't? How is it that you did not ridicule the Bible when you said apostate Christians translated it? That's absolute ridicule, but yet you still use that book.
On top of that, they have tried to silence God's modern day servants, or apostates.
Mm-hmm.
What Jesus said to the religious leaders of his day can also be said to them. You shut up the kingdom of the heavens before mankind, for you yourselves do not go in, neither do you permit those on their way to go in. You don't allow your members to investigate or go on YouTube and see these things for themselves.
Exactly. Okay, I'll read the next one under the heading, The Truth Makes You Free. No. Watchtower, it's not the truth that makes your members free. It's apostates that make your members free. It's your own literature. The problem is that you've got so much fear, you use it as a stranglehold that they're even afraid to look at old literature like this. What are they going to say? But why would you use the literature in a negative light?
We got disfellowship for that.
Well, of course we did. Yeah. Do you see the fear? Yeah. All right. Long ago, Jehovah God saw the need to provide written information to guide mankind, but Jehovah God didn't stop apostate Christians from translating it.
Well, look at the Bible was the result.
Yeah, exactly. Its truth set people free from bondage of false religion. Tell me conclusively, how is it that Moses was instructed to lift up that copper serpent so that everybody looks at that and live, and Jesus comes along and identifies himself as that serpent? Just as Moses lifted up that serpent, so the Son of Man will be lifted up. They'll never see it. They'll never see it because the light that is the pineal gland is deadened in a lot of people's minds. The truth sets free people from the bondage of false religion and safeguards them from deceptions.
unless you're a Jehovah's Witness.
Unless you're a Jehovah's Witness. Exactly. Deceptions by Satan and his religious agents, the governing body. It contains the truth of which Jesus spoke when he said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." They won't know the truth because they have not been learned how to identify what fear is.
Yeah.
Fear is not the whole concept of, well, it's reverential fear. That's bullshit, Watchtower. See, that's how this organization gets away with it. Well, it's reverent. It's not fear of God himself, but it's fear of what God can do to you.
Yeah.
See?
Well, the next paragraph, it just talks about Umlanji. If he would have been taught the real Bible truths, he would have been misled into expecting their ancestors to give them cattle and corn. But about halfway down, it says the people of Christendom would also benefit from an accurate knowledge of the Bible. They would not be confused by pagan teachings, deceived by self-righteous governing body leaders. Oh, I mean, religious leaders.
You're hanging around me too long.
I know, you're bad influence. Misled by emotion and appearances or destroyed at the coming battle of Armageddon. The liberating truths of the Bible are being preached worldwide today by apostates on YouTube. No, I mean Jehovah's Witnesses, much to the consternation of the world's religious leaders.
Or the governing body.
Yeah. Hundreds of thousands of people are being set free from bondage to superstitions and to religious falsehoods. You've got that right.
Yeah.
Look at how many PMOs and Jehovah's Witnesses. And I just want to mention that one of the people that had sent me the link to the article about that elder being arrested in Colorado, I didn't find out until after we had done our video, but that was actually from a PMO in that area. So, you see Jehovah's Witnesses, you see Watchtower, the PMOs are spreading these news reports and stuff. And how can you say, oh, this is Satan's lies, this is Satan's world coming after us? No, because they actually know this elder.
Right, exactly. Just going back to this real quick, the people of Christendom would also benefit if an accurate knowledge of Bible truth. Well, here's the thing, Kim. I've done a couple of videos on the two false prophecies in Jeremiah and Ezekiel. And not only does Christendom reject that, so do Jehovah's Witnesses. I've done videos showing the pantheon of gods in Psalms 82. Not only does Christendom reject it, so do Jehovah's Witnesses. I've shown, and Jane Doe also have shown many, many, many Bible contradictions, Bible issues, Bible problems. They're not benefiting it because they're still finding their enslavement to fear. That's what this all is, okay? The last paragraph. Satan and his demon hosts, aka the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, and his earthly ministers, aka the Watchtower Babel Crap Society, have proved to be masters of deception. They have corrupted the worship of multitudes. But how could that have happened, Watchtower, when you even admitted a Christian apostate translated the Bible? How could that happen? When apostate Christians are the ones responsible for corrupting the Bible. And it's the same book you use today so that you can continue to be masters of deception. But the time is at hand when their activities will be 1959, and now that time at hand is an overlapping generation at hand.
Time is at hand in 1959. Okay,
Yeah.
What time are you talking about? Because it ain't Armageddon.
Well, certainly all of the door-to-door preaching that we didn't shut down Christendom. There's still billions of people that profess to be Christians, even though Watchtowers have put trillions of hours into the door-to-door work. with little to no results. Okay? For the benefits of those who have not yet separated themselves from Satan's vast system of false religion, the divine command rings out. What? No, Watchtower, you got this, you got it wrong. See, this is the new light. Okay? This is the new light, Jehovah's Witnesses. For the benefit of those who have not yet separated from the Watchtower Babel Crap Society and their vast system of false teachings, the divine command rings out. Get out of her, my people, if you do not want to share with her in her sins or receive part of her plagues. And that's a plague on this world right now, is this damn religious organization that calls itself the only true, well, wait a minute, they never said it, they got us to do it. The only true religion that God's using has a plague of child and human abuse.
Yeah. And look at Jane Doe's video this morning. She was talking about community responsibility.
Exactly.
And it was excellent because she even mentioned the video we had done yesterday about that elder being arrested in Colorado.
And community responsibility.
Community responsibility. So all of these Jehovah's Witnesses, you can't claim, oh, well, I didn't know that there were so many of these CSA cases all over the world, because ignorance does not save you.
It's not an excuse.
Yeah, and just like I mentioned in that article in my video yesterday, look at how many people in that area knew what was going on, knew of the allegations, and did nothing. So they are sharing in the sins and the plague of the investigators and authorities and the governments coming down on them. It's not Satan going after them in persecution. No, it's you're receiving the plagues because of your part in this and not reporting it and protecting the kids.
And isn't it a matter of divine wisdom, new light, that an article that had been buried on my table for God only knows how long
Months.
at this point, that came to light yesterday? And that's the God's honest truth, friends. I was cleaning off my table yesterday, and it's like, oh, how apropos in light of that video we did the other day about that piece of crap in Colorado.
Well, didn't the puppies spill your glass of water, and so we had to clean that whole table, and we had to actually get a tray that was taller?
So it was divine inspiration by use of dogs.
Little brats.
Yeah, but Jehovah's Witnesses, it's just this simple. Get out the old information. Even in the Awake, this was written in the 1959 Awake magazine. You ex-Jehovah's Witnesses standing in front of your green screens pretending to be ministers, start going after the Awake magazine, because I know in the mind of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that want to be YouTube televangelists, you all go after the Watchtower because you all have got it in your head that the Watchtower is the flagship. No, it's the Awake also, because they've hidden articles like this in an Awake magazine, and they're just as powerful and useful as those Watchtower magazines.
It's okay, because we'll just take them and use them and do videos about it.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Well,
that's fine.
Here
Gives
again,
us more ammo.
Yeah, but the biggest part of the problem is that they have to be willing to break that fear and say, yep, the Bible does contradict itself, and there's something horribly wrong with it.
And speaking of that, how they were going after Christendom, I just want to mention an article, and I want to thank everybody who sent me the link to this, and I'll put the link down below to this. The Pope, you know, Mr. Almighty Christendom himself,
The Vicar of Christ,
denounces psychological abuse as Jesuit case rocks the church. Yeah, they're actually speaking out and trying to fix all of this that has been hidden for decades. Decades. At least they're coming and admitting it. Yeah, you know, we've had a problem for decades, and we need to denounce this and speak out against it. Because this was on the case of a prominent priest that was accused of exploiting his authority to abuse nuns and has rocked the Vatican.
Well, there again, in a soft, backpedaling way, Jeffrey Jackson, when asked that question whether their organization has those type of problems, he goes, well, it would appear to be so.
Yeah, and when you scroll
Cowards.
down, it says, he added that no one should profit from his or her position and role in order to demean others. And isn't that exactly what the elders, the circuit overseers, the governing body, and all of those clowns up at Watchtower headquarters sitting in their ivory towers,
Yeah.
handing out rules and doctrines that destroy people and families.
But instead, what have they done? They wrote oodles and oodles and oodles of articles pointing to other religions as being the culprits, when Watchtower themselves are just as culpable.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
This is so damn easy to do, Kim.
Yeah.
It really is just this simple.
Yeah.
And like I've said it once, I'll say it again. Ignorance this day and age is an absolute choice.
Yeah, well, look at Jehovah's Witnesses are not going to go back and read this old stuff and make a connection. You know, the PMOs will, but not the regular rank and file like
Right.
our moms.
And the PMOs, if they choose to do it, they know what the consequences will be if they can't, you know, turn on that light bulb that's in the pineal gland.
Yeah, guess what? Your family and friends run to the elders and, oh, they're talking apostate.
Yep. When it's just coming from their own stinking literature.
Yeah, I never could figure that one out. You know, how can it be apostate literature and old light if it was given to you by God's Holy Spirit back then in 1959, then is it an oops, the Holy Spirit messed up royally?
Well, yeah, because see, on January 8th, 1959, this was absolutely life-saving information. Absolutely life-saving. And now it's relegated to apostasy.
Yep. So thank you everybody for watching, and thank you for all the cards and gifts.
I hope our green screen works out.
If not, you will be viewing this with a pure chroma screen.
I see the humor in that, sweetie. I see the humor. You know, so if that happens, it's like, oh shit, this didn't work out well.
We have way too much fun.
Oh, this is better than sitting in any Kingdom Hall listening to some jackass hell to give a talk and just convince us how close we are to the end of this system of things.
Well, in 1959, apparently they were at the end.
Of course they were at the end. Of course they were. Otherwise they would not have dare said what they said. Jesus. What a bunch of morons. The liberating truths of the Bible are being preached. The liberating truths are now apostasy.
Well, the liberating truths are on YouTube now.
That's true too.
So we hope you all have a wonderful weekend and happy holidays to anyone who is celebrating that. And just enjoy the weekend and do something fun. Do something fun. I know we will. Our kids are coming out and they're bringing their puppy, which means the sister to our two. So the three of them are going to be back together again. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, all right. 5 dogs and a cat. Oh, it's going to be interesting.
Well, maybe we'll get some fun video.
Yeah, that would be a welcoming change. Jeez.
So we love you, and you all have a wonderful weekend.
Bye.
Bye.